I'm Philip Duncan. Thank you for joining us for our Wednesday weather update, recorded on July the 2nd. All eyes are out over on the Tasman Sea as a large low gets even more powerful today. This is the storm here, just off the coast from Sydney in New South Wales. Quite a large centre to it, and you'll see in a moment that it's a bit of a messy centre, but it is producing some very strong winds straight off the sea. In fact, the boxes here show wind gusts, and where you see purple, you're talking about 115, 125 kilometres an hour just south of Sydney around Wollongong and southwards of there. Out at sea, not as much wind, but you've got plenty of thunderstorms and instability. Coming to the New Zealand area, gusty in the far north, gusty in Stewart Island, and the usual brisk wind around Cook Strait and Wellington. But many other places have that zero number because winds have been fairly calm as high pressure has been over the top of us. So that brings me to the next map, because there are two areas of wind. You've got the wind that goes around the low itself. That wind flow changes direction depending on where you are. And the second area is the squash zone, which is a straight line of wind that covers hundreds of kilometres. In this case, it goes all the way from Tonga down towards Tasmania as a big, strong northeasterly. That wind, which is halfway between powerful high pressure and powerful low pressure, is moving into the north of the country and across New Zealand over the next couple of days. So that's why we're already seeing it a bit windy at the far north there, through Cook Strait as well, and also separately windy down here around the south of the country. That's kind of normal. So we're seeing a couple of things moving on through. So here is the setup for noon Thursday. This shows you 24 hours of rainfall from today, Wednesday, until then. Normally we only show you the rain map at the middle of the day. So this gives you a bigger picture. Why don't I always do this? Because for the most part, it looks like this. It's a lot of blue around New Zealand because we get lots of small showers, and it always looks like it's pouring with rain around the country. So it's not really helpful to use it all the time. But in a big rain event, yes, it is. And unfortunately, it's this northwest corner hit by the flooding from the last low, showing up here with the heaviest of the rain. We're talking 60 to 100 millimetres or more over the next 24 hours. So please keep up to date with those MetService warnings and watches. Windy as well. You can see the squash zone here between the low and the exiting high. Plenty of northerly winds coming down. Some areas it's more north to northwest, others north to northeast. And so they could be strong and even up to gale force. So there might be a few power outages around the country tomorrow as that sets in. So rain is mostly heavy around the northwest corner of the South Island. The North Island still under a fair bit of high pressure. That rain will be patchier, more showery, not seeing so much in the way of big rainfall totals. Driest place, Southland. Hello to our viewers in Invercargill. You're the place to be tomorrow. Let's go to Friday. So in comes the low. Now the low is weakening as it moves in. So that's why it's not so much of a storm for us, although it is producing obviously severe weather. Heaviest rain by Friday looks to be building up around Bay of Plenty up towards East Cape in that 80 to 100 millimetre mark. And again, it could go beyond that. But this is quite different to a week ago. I know that, when we talked about this at the start of the week, it looked like a carbon copy. Another big low out of the Tasman, another rain event with some warm subtropical winds coming in across the country. But like I said yesterday, every low is unique, just like our fingerprints. You and your friend might sort of look at your fingers and think they look similar, do your fingerprints, and they're completely different. No different with low pressure zones. And on top of that, New Zealand has its own fingerprint with our mountains and ranges. So you just move two lows in, one after each other, but they have a slightly different movement, and that rain comes into different valleys and floods different places. So it might all look in the big picture very similar, but when you zoom in, the details do change. So we're not expecting necessarily a repeat of last week, but it's just unfortunate the areas that were hit last week are the ones most exposed this time around. The good news is we do see the rainfall tapering off here as we go through Friday. More of it shifts into the North Island. Some rain also coming into some of these drier areas around Manawatu and Hawke's Bay. Hawke's Bay in particular, very dry. Not a lot of rain coming through for Hawke's Bay, and by Saturday, that area is clearing away as far as rain is concerned. Here is the low moving into the northwest corner. So as the whole system falls apart, the centre of the low is where you've still got instability. And unlike a cold front that goes from point A to point B to point C, low pressure at the centre can create brand new rain clouds out of blue skies or clear skies. And so you can suddenly have rain returning even though you thought it had cleared up. So that's why there's a little bit of lingering concern for the top of the South Island going into the weekend. But really the rainfall totals there, the numbers are down into areas where that's getting below rain warning criteria. So hopefully not so problematic, but Saturday does see the risk of downpours and a cooler southerly coming into the South Island as well. This is all southerly on the back end of the low pressure zone. So here's Sunday's setup. Southerlies, that's a lot of word with S's, are all in the mix. So we've got a southerly flow coming through the country. Why are there showers around Nelson again? Well, that's the leftovers of the low. So normally you would see it completely dry in that area with a southerly, but because there's just the leftover of low pressure, could be a few showers. It doesn't look like any concern really. Main concern looks to be over the next couple of days in that top part of the South Island. A few lingering showers, but the whole country has that southerly change on Sunday. And by Monday, the high is over us, the frosts return. You might be surprised to know that the second half of June was about a degree warmer than average nationwide, including the South Island with that colder airflow you had, but compared to previous years, was up a little bit. Now, South Islanders might not notice that as much as those of you around areas like Waikato. Why is that? Well, because Waikato and Bay of Plenty, they're on the what I would say on the fringes of winter. And so those regions both get frosts. But if you add a degree or so to the temperature, they don't get them. It has been remarkably frost-free at the top of the North Island so far this year. That's a good way of measuring the rest of the country, because when you're under a cold snap, you don't notice a degree or so difference, but those on the outer edges do. And so we are noticing this year is warmer than average. I'm putting that down to a lot of subtropical airflows coming through for us and westerlies, and also a lack of southerlies, proper southerlies that are coming from Antarctica. We haven't had one this year. That's off the Antarctic ice shelf. Instead, this map here on Tuesday has airflows coming from near Tonga down over New Zealand. So not surprising that we are seeing temperatures above normal, even if you don't necessarily feel it. That's what we're recording at the moment. But look at this messy setup for next week. Large low pressure, stormy system coming out of the Southern Ocean there, but we're under the warm northerly wind. Here's the rainfall map. This could still change a wee bit for all the reasons I've mentioned, but it shows the northwest corner of the South Island, west of Nelson, has that risk of rain over 100 millimetres or more. Mount Taranaki, or even sort of the northwestern corner of Taranaki. And then you've also got Bay of Plenty, and that has moved around a bit, the rainfall in there. So you're seeing kind of messy stuff coming in from the north to northwest, driest weather, Southland and Otago. Before I go, please keep up to date with alert.info. They have all the information. They package it together really well for you, and it doesn't have all the extreme sensational headlines that our mainstream media love to use with every single weather event. So you get all the police, weather, health, all of that stuff, fire service, you can get from alert.info. And of course, please keep up to date with all the MetService warnings and watches. This is what we had when we recorded it. Number of orange rain warnings. That may well change by the time you view it today. So you can check that out on the MetService website and also WeatherWatch, the free app, and also weatherwatch.co.nz. That is all from me. We are away tomorrow, Thursday. We will be around on social media if the weather is really getting nastier than we expect. Otherwise, I'll see you again on Friday.